Hello, everybody. Come on in. It's time for our weekly Wednesday live. We're going to do a business Q&A today. Let me get my phone up so I can see everybody's comments. The reason why I do it this way, you guys, is because I use a software to go live called StreamYard. And StreamYard and Facebook don't always talk together well. They're not pals. So I can see your comments as you're coming on live, but sometimes it doesn't allow me to see who is commenting. It won't share your name. So as you're coming on live, say hello. Let me know where you're calling in from. If you're new, we have quite a few people who are new to the group this week. So new clients, new free members of the group. If you're on here live, let me know who you are, where you're calling in from, and what type of business you have if you're new to us. If you are new, my name is Sarah Nicole Nadler. I'm the owner of the Go Getter Entrepreneur Group. I am a business coach, a motivational speaker, an author. Hey, Bree, thanks for coming on live. And I go live every single Wednesday, same time every week, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Hey, Trisha, good to see you. And I am here to answer the questions of our paying members. So if you're not a paying member, feel free to stick around because you're going to see a lot of the same questions you might have about your business. You'll get to learn from people who are above you in the business strategy section of life. I will share my screen so you guys can kind of get the general gist for the new guys coming on here. I teach 6 different stages of business growth. So depending on where you're at in business, you can't see me now. There we go. Depending on where you're at in business, you could be running into one of these 6 different action plans, right? If you're just got a business idea, you haven't really launched your first couple of clients yet, you don't have any paying clients, you're in what we would call the validate stage of business. And there's an exact action plan that will take you from validate to actually ready to build your business. Once you've validated your offer, which means you've nailed down your messaging, you've nailed down what you're selling and who you're selling it to, and you've gotten that vital feedback so you really know it's what they need and want, then you move on to the build stage of business. I have quite a few clients who are in build stage right now. They're just getting themselves off the ground. They've had their first few paid clients. They've gotten that feedback, and now they're ready to build this to scale. Then we launch the business. Launch is where you actually learn sales and marketing for the first time for some of us, right? And we really make sure we learn what exactly will get clients to be naturally attracted to you, so you're not always chasing them constantly. So that's launch stage of business. Then we hit breakthrough. Breakthrough is where you're making enough money to quit your 9 to 5. You're paying yourself well, right? We've got a couple of people who are bouncing back and forth between launch and breakthrough right now. So we're going to pump it up this coming month and really get them through those stages so we can have a comfortable income on a regular basis. Hey, Christiane. Hey, Shani. Thanks for coming in. Ben, for anybody who doesn't know, is also an expert inside this group. He is my husband. He's a licensed financial advisor. And he sometimes comes on live with me, but today he's just tuning in. So, hey, Ben, it's good to see you. Scale stage. So once you've hit that breakthrough stage, you're making enough money in your business that you can afford to quit your 9 to 5, or you can afford to pay yourself what your time and money is actually worth, or time and value is actually worth, I should say. Then you want to start scaling your business and really set it up to be able to dial back your time and hit those $1 million mark, right? First, your first 100K, your first 200K, your first $1 million year. So when we're trying to do that, it's all about scaling systems. That means adding in the automation, really learning how to hire and manage a team like Annalise. Annalise, are you here today? She's focusing on bringing on her first few team members so she can scale. And then at some point, we want to exit the business, right? This could be early retirement. You could be trying to pivot and go a different direction. You want to sell your business, or you could be just, okay, I quit, right? And you want to go ahead and sell this and move on to the next thing. So there's that whole exit action plan that you have to move through. So I help people in all 6 different stages of business. I would say a majority of my clients are in the scale stage or exit stage right now, but I do have quite a few people who have been bumping around between validate, build, launch, and breakthroughs. So depending on where you're at, feel free to comment below what stage you think you're in. If you need some help on figuring out what your next action plan is. And if you're a paid member, make sure you refer back to your business roadmap, because that is where I listed out for you specifically, step by step how you're going to get out of the stage you're in right now. So today I wanted to talk specifically to the ladies. So I'm very glad that of the people who jumped on live, it looks like most of them are female entrepreneurs. This is Women History Month is in March. And in fact, yesterday, I believe it was International Women's Day. So I wanted to just do a little bit of training around the mindset that I see is necessary to actually succeed in a man's world. Because I don't know about you gals, but I see quite a few big picture media, TV, radio, it's on the news all the time about how victimized we are as women and how the patriarchy is really out to get us, and the glass ceiling, and the inequality between men and women. And you know what, there's a lot of truth to that. Okay, I'm not trying to say that there isn't, but it wasn't until 1850 that women actually, in the United States, in 1850, we didn't even own our own earnings, right? I did a whole podcast episode on that this week. You guys might have seen my posts about this, but up until 100 years ago, if you did defy all gender traditions and go start a business as a woman, your husband owned every dollar you made, right? Or your father or your older brother, whoever was the head of household, and it was always a male head of household. In 1850, that changed here in the United States, and for the last 80 years, we have made some serious, 150 years, we've made some serious inroads in women's rights. But it wasn't until the 1970s that you could even practice law as a woman in the United States. So that's really the point I've seen in my research where things started to really change as far as women's rights, because finally you could be defended by a female jury, or you could be tried by a female jury, you could be defended by a female lawyer. And so there started to be a little bit more equity and equality in the way things work. But in this day and age, we don't have that as an excuse anymore, ladies. The laws exist to protect us. It is illegal to pay a man more than a woman for the same amount of work, right? Or the same type of work. The laws exist, right? There are female lawyers you can hire. You can be tried by a female judge. You can be tried by a female jury. And so we really don't have that excuse anymore. Now, that's not to say that we're always still welcome at the table. And I know that there is a big push out there to, bring women up in the corporate world. But I just want to point something out. We're not in the corporate world. If you're inside this group, you are a female entrepreneur. That means you are your own boss. There's no one above you. So we can't really say that there's some guy who's preventing us from being successful in business. And in fact, statistically speaking, at least here in the United States, women-owned businesses this is an average, right? Taking an average of all small women-owned businesses, we tend to grow faster and have higher profitability than the men. So there's really no excuses. And I wanted to just cover that because I've seen a lot of female coaches out there, or coaches in general who coach female entrepreneurs, kind of buying into this narrative of the victim mentality of women. And I feel very strongly that that's not us. If you're a go-getter, if you're one of my go-getter entrepreneurs inside this group, whether you're a paying member or not, we are not victims, right? We are powerful and we are inspiring to our audience. And one of the ways you're going to be inspiring is by taking on and assuming those leadership qualities. And a leader is not a victim. Okay, I want to repeat that. A leader is not a victim. A leader is someone who looks around and says, nobody's doing it. Well, I better step up. Right? I'm going to be the one who proves that it can be done. That's what I'm doing with this group. I have proven that it can be done. Right? And I want you to do the same for your audience. So take a look at your clients, take a look at your business, and face it with that mentality, not of victim, right? Not of what the patriarchy is doing or not doing for me, but what am I doing for myself? Right? I have found again and again and again, and you guys I've had to call some of us out on this, right, ladies? In our private one-on-one calls, sometimes I occasionally have to call out one of my ladies going, hey, look, let's stop looking at what the environment is doing to you and figure out what about your own behavior, what about your own mindset, what about your own skill sets do we need to change or shift or pivot or add to so that you can be causative about your business, okay? That's right. Thank you, Obi. A leader is not a victim. A leader is the one who steps up, right? And sets that example, setting a good example for our clients, for our audience, right? Let's take a look at just the way you spend money. And I've talked about this before. When you go to spend money, are you taking 2 weeks and then maybe never calling the person back? right? Maybe that could be one reason why clients do that to you. When they ghost you, when they tell you they're going to pay and then they never come back, when they go with your competitor even though you had a better offer because your competitor offers a better deal financially, right? Are you going out in the world and putting that energy out there? Because when we put that energy out there, when we are, remember, we have those 4 money mindsets: rip off, doing a half-assed job for the client, fair exchange, and abundant, right? Are you going around always looking for the half-ass, right? Always wanting to pay less than it's really worth. You're only shopping at Ross, right? Nothing wrong with Ross, but if we're always looking for the better deal, always trying to scam someone else out of the money, then it's no wonder when we inflow that type of client, right? One of the really interesting things I learned this past week as I was doing the research for the episode that I did on Monday of my podcast, the Six Figure Biz Podcast. That episode was all around, female entrepreneurship. And one of the statistics I read that was really interesting to me, because I always take that attitude of, I want to look for causation. How can I be causing this situation? Not how am I being affected, not how am I being a victim of the patriarchy, but what can I do about it, right? And that's leadership. That's what we want to show our clients. That's what we want to teach to ourselves, right? So as I was looking this over, I was like, all right, what are the statistics that we can actually do something about? Well, here's an interesting one. The primary inequality that still exists in the United States between male and female entrepreneurs, okay? And I know I'm being binary about that, but just take a grain of salt here, okay? Male entrepreneurs tend to get more funding, better funding than women. And that's really the only place we're left in the entrepreneurial world, right? Because like I said, the laws exist to protect us. We've got all the backup and feedback and things like that we need. We've got government funding. We've got, right, all of these programs to protect female entrepreneurs. The one area we're still falling behind the men is underfunding, right? Way easier for men to go out there and get funding. Why is that? And here's 2 interesting statistics for you, okay? Number 1, women, only 1 in 4 business women even asks for funding. Only 1 in 4, that's 1/4, 25% of women ask for funding. We're not even asking, ladies, right? We've got to start thinking with, remember I talked about this last week? We've got to start thinking with using other people's money to grow your business. If you're not even asking the bank for funding, if you're not even trying for an SBA loan, if you're not even looking for investors to help you grow your business, then what are we doing? What are we doing? Give me in the comments. You guys remember from last week, other people's money, right? We want to grow our business with other people's money. If I'm only looking in my own pocket, right? If I'm growing my business and every time my business needs something, I go, I need better software. I need to hire. I need to, right? We're dipping in our own pockets. And that's taking money away from yourself. It's taking money away from your family. It's taking money away from your partner. No wonder we have an unsupportive spouse, right? No wonder we have an unsupportive spouse if we're constantly dipping in our own pocket to grow our business. When the men are out there asking, they're just asking for funding. That's the one thing we can be causative over. We can ask for the money. We can ask for the clothes, right? So that's one statistic. Only 1 in 4 women even ask, right? The men are just better at asking. Statistic number 2, when women do ask for funding, the funding request average for a man is $124,000. For a woman, it's $98,000. So we're asking for an average $30,000 less than men do. Okay, this is not what we get. This is just what we ask for. So I really want you to open your heart, open your mind, open the mock-up, the picture that you're putting in front of you. I want you to raise that $30,000 and just make the ask. Go apply for funding. Go apply for a grant. Ask for the money so that you can build your business with someone else's money. Because when we can borrow money at, let's say, 5%, 10%, and then ROI that 300% or more, now we're making money with other people's money. It's not costing you a dime. You have an LLC or you've got an S Corp or a C Corp, so it's not even your personal liability, right? That's how we grow a business, okay? So I just wanted to put that out there because the victim attitude, it needs to disappear. Women, we're better than that. We don't need to compete with the men. We already have statistically proven that women-owned businesses grow faster and are more profitable. All we need to be successful is the funding, and I want you to stop dipping into your own pocket to do it, okay? All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. We have some great questions from our paying members this week. This is supposed to be a live Q&A, so if you have a question about business and you're a paying member of the CEO Inner Circle or our passive income pathway strategies, go ahead and drop that in the chat. I will absolutely make sure I answer all of these questions today before I jump off. For those who are not already a member, I did want to just drop this link. There we go. It's going to scroll along the bottom. If you're not already a paying member, go ahead and head on over to that link, and that's where you're going to find a link to jump on a call with me, and we can talk about whether or not I am a good fit to work with you inside your business or work with you to grow passive income for you and your family. All right. So we have some really great questions this week. One person in particular sent me 3 different questions. I'm going to pepper these throughout the call so everybody kind of gets their questions answered. But the first one comes from Jacqueline. And Jacqueline says, what's the best way to connect MailChimp to my website to collect emails? So this is a fantastic question. And actually, I wanted to show this to you guys. So I'm going to pull up MailChimp because I happen to actually have an old MailChimp account. I don't use MailChimp anymore, but I do still have an account. And I'm going to show you guys how simple it is to do this. Now, you can still do this no matter what email software that you're using. And I highly recommend it because your email list is the one audience nobody can steal away from you, right? You create a Facebook group, any second now, Zuckerberg could just decide that I don't really want to have Facebook groups anymore. And boom, there goes your business, right? So anytime you have your audience on someone else's platform, you're running a risk in your business, right? But anytime we have an email list that you own those leads, you own those email lists. And in fact, when you go to transition out of your business and sell it, you can actually sell that email list along with your business and your brand. And the size of that email list will cause the increase or decrease in the appreciation or the value of your business. Okay. So a business that has 50,000 active emails on their list is going to be worth more on resale than a business that has, say, 10 emails, right? So what we're going to do here, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. Basically, the bottom line is, and this is, like I said, this is MailChimp, but I'm going to tell you right now, this applies to any email marketing software out there. Infusionsoft, it applies to MailerLite, which is the one I use and recommend. It applies to MailChimp, it applies to pretty much anything. What you want to do is you want to create a form inside the email marketing software, okay? So here we are inside my email marketing software. I'm going to go over here to integrations, right? And down here is we scroll down. There we go, website builder. So if you have a WordPress website, you'd click here. If you have Squarespace, you click here. I don't have my website on either of those two, which naturally connect to MailChimp. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click on the custom website. Don't be alarmed. This is not difficult to do. All it's going to do is it's going to ask me what my domain name is. And it's going to ask me which audience I want to connect it to. So for me, I would want to probably use inquiries. You will want to have an audience inside your MailChimp account for people who are asking to subscribe to your newsletter, right? And then you just click the Get Code button. And here we go. You don't need to understand what the code says. I have no idea what all of those numbers and letters mean, okay? You just have to know how to hit the copy button. And the next thing you would do is you would head on over to your website and paste that code in wherever it is on your website that it says to paste it, where you want that code to appear. So now a little form is going to appear on your website that says name, email address, click here to subscribe. And that's all you have to do. It is so simple to integrate your email system with your website system so that they talk to each other. And that's all you got to do. Okay, Jacqueline? If you need any further questions, let me know, and I can send you a little tutorial about that. Okay, the second question was, can you review my lead magnet? Yes, Jacqueline, I can absolutely review your lead magnet. Let's take a look. I think she emailed it to me. Let me see here. And guys, as you're watching this, remember, being a paid member really pays off. Like the things that you can do and get help with, you can have me look at your sales page. You can have me review your website and give you pointers on how to fix it up and make it better. You can show me your sales offer and ask me to review that. I am really here every single Wednesday to help you grow your business. And I'm really glad that Jacqueline did ask those questions, because I feel like not everybody recognizes that that's what you paid for, right? It's not just the one-on-one coaching call that you do with me every month. It's these weekly group coaching sessions that you can also take advantage of and ask questions, right? Okay, so let's take a look at her lead magnet. And in fact, I would love if we could get some community feedback here. Everybody else, as you're watching this, feel free to comment your feedback as we go. Okay, so she is using a software called Canva. Can everybody see that? Comment for me in the chat. Let me know if you can see it or if I need to make it bigger. Okay, so first and foremost, I don't like this title. Genetic interpretation for infertility. Remember, we don't want to use language in our lead magnet, especially the hook. The hook is the title or the first few words that tell the person who's considering downloading this that this is a good fit for them, right? So that hook needs to be instant association. Yes, that's a problem I have. Yes, I want it. It needs to cause that desire, right? Genetic interpretation for infertility. Right? Like if I'm a woman and I'm struggling with infertility, do I know what genetic interpretation even means? That's the first question I have to ask, right? Now, remember, there's levels of buyer awareness. So let's dial back for just a second. When you go to market something, we have to consider the awareness level of your audience. So like, for example, Trisha, right? Trisha is selling homes to people. So if she's trying to sell homes to people who don't even want a home and are perfectly happy with where they are, that's going to be a really difficult sale, right? Whereas if she targets people who are not only aware that they have a problem with renting, like they're like, I rent and I don't like it, so they have a problem. They're also aware that there's such a thing as a home, then buying it, right? They're also aware of a solution, which is her, right? Like, oh, I know that you need a real estate agent in order to buy a home. Good. This person's fairly aware. They're aware of the problem. They're aware of the fact that there's a solution, and they're aware of her type of solution, right? So in this example with Jacqueline, her lead magnet is speaking to people who have to be pretty aware, right? They're not only aware that they have infertility, they're aware that there is such a thing as an infertility coach, but they're also having to be aware of genetic interpretation and what that even means. So that, I think, is going to be a much smaller sliver of the market than just saying something like, would you like to overcome infertility? Are you confused about your infertility, right? If we talk more broadly like that, we're targeting a slightly larger audience and one that doesn't have to be quite so informed. And then we can use the lead magnet to inform them about the fact that their genetics could be potentially affecting this, right? So I think we need to broaden that. Now, what's interesting is we need to broaden that title and not use so much terminology, but then look at this. She's also trying to target practitioners and patients with the same lead magnet. This would be a big mistake because that's too broad, right? We want to niche down a little bit and decide, is this lead magnet for practitioners, like actual doctors, or is a lead magnet for patients, and split the two audiences and show a different lead magnet to each. So that right there, I think, Jacqueline, is the number one and number two things I would fix. One, the hook needs to be a little bit more clear and more attractive. And then two, break this up so it's one for each audience. Now let's take a look at the design. I like your pretty green color. It's definitely attractive. This is nice. This color of font is not dark enough. If you had a white background, it would probably show up a little bit better. Not even that. I would really darken this up. So we want to create a lot of contrast between the letters and the background so it's easy to read. So I would definitely improve that contrast either by making the background white or probably better to darken the font of some kind. One thing I noticed is this does not have a copyright statement at the bottom. We definitely want to fix that so nobody goes and steals your lead magnet. Good. This is pretty technical again. So we want to decide, are we trying to target practitioners or are we trying to target patients? If we're targeting patients, make it not quite so technical so people can really understand what they're getting themselves into. Good. One other thing that's missing here, Jacqueline, and then I'm going to move on, but I noticed that we are missing the element of action versus study, right? So in a lead magnet, which is its whole purpose is not only to attract people onto your email list, but also to convert them into someone who's interested in buying from you. So in order to accomplish that, we need to make sure the lead magnet is 40% teaching, 60% doing. So what I'm seeing here is actually 100% teaching and 0% doing. There's no call to action in the lead magnet, right? So that's going to be a big mistake because we're teaching your audience to just consume free content. That's not what we want to do. We want to teach them to consume this much content and take that much action, right? So what I would suggest is on the very first page after the title page, have some kind of activity for them to do, such as write down the outcome. How would your life be different if you solved your infertility, right? Not just I would have a baby, but like, let's hit them here, get them really thinking, get them writing, give them some kind of journaling exercise, and then start teaching them something about genetic interpretation, how that affects their infertility. And then after that, have some other exercise, like click here to research the test that I recommend, the SPIT test, right, for genetics. Send them to that link until actually make them go do it. And then say, good, come back when you're done and write down right here which test you decided to take, right? Good, next step, more teaching, right? So teach and then do, teach and then do, get them doing, because that way, by the time they come to the end of your lead magnet on page 5, I think it was, where you have your whole sales pitch, by then they're already trained into taking action. They're in an action-taking mindset, and they're much, much more likely to take action and buy your services, okay? So make those changes and then go ahead and send it to me again, and I can give you further feedback if you want. All right, Christiane has a couple of different questions. She says, do you know somebody who can do nutrition facts for a label? I don't know anybody who can do that off the top of my head, but you know what I can do is I have a link I will drop right here as a banner. There we go. Go to Upwork.com, Christiane. Upwork.com is the best place to hire a virtual assistant or someone like what you're looking for, someone who's experienced in creating nutrition facts for food labels. And that's probably going to be your best way to find someone easy, cheap, and who can do a good job and has experience in the area, because you can look at their portfolio and figure out who you want to hire. So Upwork.com, my favorite place to go for that type of thing. Good question. Okay. Good. We had another question from Krista. She says, how do I find more new patients? I'm a new practice and trying to find the best use of my marketing budget. Really good question, Krista. So I have for paid members a business attraction analysis. Go ahead and fill out this really quick quiz. And when you're finish the quiz, your results will tell you what the best way is for you to attract clients based off of the type of business you are, based off of the things that have worked for you in the past, etc. And it'll give you a whole bunch of great marketing ideas just by taking the quiz. And then in addition to that, if you're not a paid member, you can also take this quiz, and at the end, you can have a free 45-minute coaching session with me where we can discover whether or not you're a good fit for one of my programs. So you get that extra element to some coaching. If you are a paid member like Krista is, take a hold of that quiz and you just get an extra coaching session that month where we will go over marketing for you. So go ahead and head on over to bit.ly/client attraction analysis. Okay. fill that out and you will be able to answer that question. Really good question. Okay, the next question comes from, this is McKay. McKay says, what do I do in times of crisis when people start to clamp down on their budgets? He's talking about basically, as I'm sure you guys are aware, we've got the thing happening over in Russia and Ukraine where Russia is trying to take over the world and become the next Hitler. Thank you, Putin. So in times like this, where the media starts to blow something up, the same thing happened with the pandemic, right? There's a very real situation occurring. And then you have what I call the merchants of chaos, the people who are making money off the chaos, right? People make money off the chaos by talking about it, influencers on social media, creating content around it and making money off of it. So there's all these different people who are making money off the chaos and pulling attention away from normal life, right? So people start to worry and they start to become preppers. Like they want to go hoard a bunch of toilet paper, right? Or they want to spend all their money on ammo and buying a gun so they can protect themselves. And so their discretionary income starts to get diverted away from your services and products, which are more normal everyday things like financial advice or home buying and things like that, things that are future, right? And become instead this stuck in the past, stuck in worry, I got to save my money, and people start to clamp down in times of crisis, right? So McKay's question is, what do we do about that as entrepreneurs, as business owners? How do we bust through those objections and get people to continue to use our services? So the first thing I would say is sit down in a one-on-one coaching session with Ben. So if you are a paid member, right, you get access to him. Sit down in a one-on-one coaching session with Ben and really make sure you are recession-proofing your finances. Okay, so that's the first thing, is really making sure you have a strong financial plan in place so that if things really do go south, you actually have a plan in place of what to do. That being said, if we're just talking, McKay, about the sales strategy behind it, really, I would just treat it like any other objection, right? And those objections, we need to do two things. If you guys remember from my sales workshop, those of you who have attended the sales workshop or have done the sales course inside the Inner Circle coaching program, what do I do with objections? Number one, I try to overcome the objection before they voice it by creating content around that objection, right? So if the concern or the objection is, well, I want to donate all of my discretionary income to Ukraine and that's why I can't buy your service, then why don't you create, if that's something you truly believe in, right? Don't just do this just for the heck of it. But if it's something you're also concerned about, why don't you create some kind of offer or sale around, hey, look, we're donating 5% of our profits or our proceeds towards Ukraine. So now people feel like by purchasing your services, they are doing something about Ukraine. So now we have gotten around that objection and also done something good and taken a stand for something you believe in at the same time, right? So that's number one, is create content around the objection so you hear less of that objection. Okay. Step two, when the objection does come up in conversation, we use the 3-step process, right? We understand the objection, which sometimes means asking secondary questions to really understand where the person's coming from, right? Maybe they have a Ukrainian grandmother, or maybe there are friends that they have who are from Ukraine. Like, what is causing them to get triggered on this subject, right? So we want to ask secondary questions until we understand the objection. Acknowledge the objection. Acknowledge means to make someone feel heard and understood. So you might have to say, I totally get it. And then they still don't get it. And then you go, I really heard what you're saying. And then they still are like, ah. And then you go, look, I feel the same way. My grandma's Ukrainian too, or whatever it is you want to say that's truthful, right? Honesty. And finally, that third time you tried to acknowledge them, they finally get it, right? It finally hits home and they feel heard and understood. So that's step two, is we're going to acknowledge the objection, make them feel heard and understood. And then step three, we're going to return to the buying process and ask for the yes answer again. Remember, 80% of sales or more occur after the third attempt to close. So if you hear an objection and you just hit it like a brick wall and fall on the floor and splat, you're going to miss out on 80% of your sales, right? So we have to get really, really comfortable with the 3-step process. Understand the objection, acknowledge the objection, return them to the buying process, and just ask for yes answer again, right? and get comfortable with doing that at least twice in every sale. So that was McKay. That's how I would overcome that objection and help people to continue to use your services. Now, that's only for use in ethical situations. I just want to put that as a caveat. We don't use these procedures to manipulate people into buying things that they wouldn't normally need or want, right? You have to have integrity in the way you sell. You have to know with certainty that it is in the person's best interest and that you really are also doing something for Ukraine and you're not pulling money out of the mouths of people who are desperate and need of those donations, right? Like, let's make sure we're doing this with ethics and with honesty in our hearts and integrity, right? But that's how I would overcome those objections. Okay, looks like Christiane has another question. Awesome. So she says, I will do a survey about what people like to eat, paleo and keto, for you to have advice. I'm not sure that's a question. Okay, so I think what you're saying, Christiane, is you're going to do a survey on what people like to eat, and you would like for me to give advice on how to create that survey. Is that right? Go ahead and comment in the chat. Yes, if that's what you were looking for, is help with creating that survey. This is actually a great question. I have a whole list of example marketing surveys. Let me pull out my sample marketing surveys. Yeah, sample survey questions. I have a whole folder of these, and it's shared inside the client attraction module of the Inner Circle. So if that's what you were looking for, Christiane, that's where you're going to want to go. In fact, let me see if I can find it for you right now so you know exactly where to go. You're going to go inside the app, right? I'm in the app on the phone. Scroll down to courses. Okay, here we are in the courses section. And go to the Client Attraction Accelerator and let's see if I can find the exact lesson for you so you know where to go. Ooh, this is a good challenge. I don't even know if I remember where I put it. The Client Attraction Accelerator. Okay, I know it's in the Client Attraction Accelerator. What I'm going to do, Christiane, is I'm going to send you a link. My team, Sam or Haley, if you guys are on, can you drop that in the chat for her? If you're not on right now, that's okay. As you're watching the replay, guys, I will drop that link in the chat for paid members. Christiane, we'll make sure you get the link to the survey. Okay, the survey sample questions. Good. Okay, I had one more question, which was, oh, how do I set up my email capture to differentiate between practitioners and patients? This is from Jacqueline again. Okay, so she got my feedback, I guess, on wanting to differentiate between targeting practitioners and targeting patients because they're just two very different target markets. So she says, if I'm going to capture emails from both, how do I differentiate them? So first and foremost, I would use a form built again in MailChimp, since that's the software program you're using. In MailChimp, as you're building out that subscriber form, I would just make a checkbox where it says check if you're a practitioner, check if you're a patient, and they'll self-select. That's the easiest way to do it. And then we can set it up in the automation of MailChimp that depending on which one they select, they get tagged that in your email list. So that when you're sending out emails, even if they're automated emails, it will send one type to practitioners and one type to patients. So it's much, much easier if we just make them do that little extra bit of work when they're subscribing of checking which type of person they are. The other alternative to that is you could have two different buttons on there, and then each button pulls up a different form, right? So it's like click here if you are a patient, click here if you're a practitioner. And when they click, it gives them a different form for each. That's another way we could set it up. It really depends on the aesthetics look that you're looking for on your website. Okay, these are all some great questions, guys. Go ahead and drop one more question. Anybody else have a question that they want to ask tonight? Or want to come on live and ask a question? Anybody have anything else? I'll wait one more minute, just make sure we got everybody's questions answered. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, well, very good. Thank you so much for coming on live, guys. I will see you next week, Wednesday, same time. If you're not already a paid member, feel free to drop in the chat Let's have you drop in the chat passive. If you're interested in joining our new passive income program, it is a 6-week private coaching program for entrepreneurs who are interested in building their business in a way that is more passive so that you can dial back your time and actually hit your income revenue goals without having to work quite so hard. We're going to help you hire and manage a team and build in those passive income strategies so we can extract you out of the business. So if you're interested in learning more about our new program, go ahead and type passive in the comments below or send me a DM with the word passive and my team will get back to you with more information. Okay? I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for showing up.